So let us say we have this 002 SpringBoot project, right? I have not yet created anything custom. I have not created anything custom. So let me right click it. Let us run it as a Spring Boot project. You can also run it as a Java application, but not now. We will discuss it later. Spring Boot app. So what it will do is it will use all the dependencies which it might have downloaded and deploy your project at localhost 8080. Here it is. If it doesn't show started application in some seconds, Tomcat started on port 8080, if it doesn't show anything like that, that means there is some problem. Your application has not yet deployed, right? If you now you can go and check your application at localhost 8080. Localhost 8080. Yeah, you got the white label error page. That means everything is just working fine. Got it? Localhost 8080. White label error page is not an error. It is just that we have not configured how to work with this root REST endpoint. That's the reason we are getting an error. Spring Boot project doesn't know what to do with this request. That's the reason this error. Ideally, it is all fine. If we are getting it, we are good. For the people who would want to start it again, maybe make some changes and then run it again, for them, they should stop the project first and then launch it again, right? Okay, now if you want to configure the default REST endpoint by default, then you need to create a class inside com example demo, right? Inside com example demo, create a new class. Let's call it, let's say for example, I will just show you. I will do something more, right? I will do something more. Let's say REST controller, right? So I can call it friends REST controller, right? And click on finish. It is now make it sure that this class called friends REST controller is inside the same package that is com.example.demo, right? You do not create a different package. You do not create a different package as of now. As of now, just put it in the same package. We will be doing the package management later on, not now. And in here, let me create a constructor. Make sense? Friend REST, I'm just getting a constructor. And in the constructor, and outside constructor, let me create one list item list friends is equal to new array list, right? Makes sense? Just I'm creating an instance friends of type list, nothing new. Now let me do one quick thing. So can I say over here friends.add? Yeah, I did not create a friend instance, no? Okay, let me do it like this then. I will create one more class in here. I will call it friends, right? And this friends is going to have certain class variables like private integer ID, private string name, private string location. So friend did have a name and location, right? And now I would want to generate the getters and setters. I will also generate the getters and setters. So I will right click and source, right click source and generate getters and setters. I will select all. I want to generate the getters and setters for all the fields. Click on generate. Make sense? And I will also generate the blank constructor, right? Ideally, field constructor and blank constructor. So again, go to source and constructor using fields. Makes sense? So here it is. I want to generate a field constructor. So we have got this field constructor also. Take it from here, put it here, and I will also generate one empty constructor. Make sense? So I have got the constructor in place, everything in place. So now I can go to the friend REST controller and create this list of type friends, right? And new array list of type friends. Make sense? So I can say uh, in the constructor. Yes, Mani, I chose Spring Web at the time of project creation. Yes, Spring Web. Because of the Spring Web, I have this dependency called Spring Boot Starter Web. I have it, right? It's coming because I chose Spring Web as one of the dependency in there. So over here, I can say what friends f1 is equal to new. I'm just getting an instance of type friends. So I can say one name is ODB. Location is Chennai, right? Let's create one more instance. Friends f2 is equal to new friends 2. Name the emblem. Location is Chennai. Makes sense. Let's add one more or two more maybe. So this is one level up from our previous example, right? Since I was already repeating the example, I thought of increasing a level a bit more. So all are from Chennai, right? So we have the 4 friends. So can I add this F1, F2, F3, F4 to this list, right? So I can say friends dot add. What is it that I want to add? F1 friends dot add. I want to add all this F1, F2, F3, and F4 to the friends list, right? Nothing new. Whatever I am doing is just bare bone Java basics. And this one is going to be F4. Makes sense? Okay. Now what happens? This constructor will execute the moment the instance of this class is created, right? So that will happen for the first time. That will happen the very first, the moment the instance is created. And who will create instance? Spring Boot will create instance. So you do not have to worry about that. I have not yet dived into the theory part or technicals of Spring Boot. We are just doing quick hands-on, right? So trying to validate we were attempting to validate our lab setup, which we validated successfully initially, but I also chose to, go, oops, audio broke off. So I also chose to go one more step ahead and show you something more, exciting. So let me set up a method over here. Public welcome. That is what we did initially, right? In the previous example, and it is going to return the data of type string. and it will return maybe get the maybe friends community version 1.0. Makes sense? That's what I'm going to return. And when would I return it? Whenever the request is received for what? Request mapping annotation is used to map the methods who will be responsible for the respective get request. By default, all the request will be get request, right? So I can say slash, right? Is my request. So I can always launch my application now. It's some 002 Spring Boot is already running, right? So if I kind of go and take a look at the browser, nothing will work. Why? Because it's a previous version which is running. It's an old instance. I need to relaunch it so that the updated code comes into action. So I will relaunch it or stop it. Let's stop. So it is stopped now and launch it again. So 002 Spring Boot run as Spring Boot app. Okay, so here it is. So you can see it is running at port 8080, started in 2.74 seconds. So if you go and take a look now, hey, what is happening? क्या हो गया भैया? नहीं चला क्या? Oh, now it is okay. And now it is okay. It was the old previous one. Is it running? Not running भैया. क्या हो गया? I would have went in and around files and attempted to look for the anything I may have missed. So now it should work. So I will need to relaunch it again. So ideally what happens is every time what you are seeing is every time I'm making the changes to the code, I need to stop the previous instance and then launch it again. Right? So that doesn't look like a good activity, smart activity, right? So it is launched. So if you go and take a look now, here you have it, right? So friends community. And now let's kind of have one more get request. So let us say public. I do not know what is going to be the return type. So public. Ideally, I do not know what is going to be the return type. So public void. I do not know. Just assume that I do not know. Ideally, I know, but let's assume I do not know. And let's say get friends. Right. So ideally, what I want is I want to return this list of friends. This thing has got the data, right? It has got these 4 friends. So that's what I want to return. So can I say return friends? That's it. So when I want to return friends, what should happen? This void should be rather than this void, I need to return the list item of type friends. So ideally Spring Toolsheet will do it for us. So if you bring your mouse here on the red line, it will say change method return type to list of type friends, right? That's what I want. So I will select it. Can you see? It's done. So again, for this to work, what I need to do? I need to map it with some kind of get request. So request mapping. Let's say slash all. Make sense? So now when I will call this slash all, what I will return is the list of type friends which contains all this data, right? This data. So let's see, will it work? Slash all. No, it will not work. It will throw a white label error page. Why? Because the application needs to be relaunched again, redeployed again. Ideally, rather than relaunch, I need to use the word called redeployed. Let us relaunch it again. You can also stop it and launch it, stop it and start it as a Spring Boot project again. Let's do it like this. But again, it is not a good idea, right? Because for every changes you will be doing, you will need to kind of relaunch it or stop it and launch it in that way. So got it. So you got an array of JSON objects, isn't it? You got an array. It's an array, right? Of JSON objects, isn't it? And ideally, we will be using Postman to test this. We would not be testing it via browser, because what happens when you are testing your REST endpoints from within the browser, the limitation which you have is that you are able to work only with the GET request. By default, all the requests are a GET request. I mean like this. when I say, okay, let me discuss it a little while later, not now. So let's say if you want to add a data, you want to add a record to this friends, you want to do that. Then what? फिर क्या करोगे? That means you need to post the data from the client, that is from the front end. Okay, that means you need some kind of something to post data. So for that you will need a postman, right? If you do not have a postman, you can also use this extension called yet another REST client. You can also use this Google Chrome extension called yet another REST client. That is also okay. So we will be using both, the one called yet another REST client and the one which is postman. So postman is a little bit heavy. So if you want to use the lighter one, then you can use this YARC. You can get it from Google Chrome. Google Chrome store, sorry, Chrome Web Store. And there you can search for yet another REST client or REST client. Can you see? Yet another REST client, right? So you can click it and install it. I am sharing this link with you. I do not know whether this URL will work for you or not, or whether it is blocked, but this is what you can use. And you can also use Postman, right? So both alternatives you have, so as to test your REST endpoints. So this was our first REST endpoint, wherein the data source is what? Who is the data source? Data source is our list array, list collection, right? So ideally in real life, this data source will be the database, right? Got it? Okay. One more thing before I get into the theoretical part of Spring Boot. So you might have started seeing the things falling in place, right? So I was just trying to validate the lab setup and I ended up doing this thing, right? So just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's go to the pom.xml, right? Pom.xml. What is pom.xml? Pom.xml is a file wherein all the dependencies are declared. So as of now, what is the dependency I used? Only one, right? That is Spring Boot Starter Web. Where is it? You want to see it? If you can see, take a look at this Maven dependencies on the left hand side in the package explorer. If you open it, there should be Spring Boot Starter Web. So these are, you also have this embedded Tomcat. Can you see this Hibernate? Ideally, all these dependencies are downloaded by default as a part of Spring Framework, right? So Spring Boot Starter Web, which should be in the org Spring Framework boot. Hold on, let me show you. So hold on. It has got stuck or what? Yeah. Hold on. Can you see? अरे भैया क्यों express करना चाहते हो? Here it is Spring Boot Starter Web, right? So why do you need all these dependencies? They are all secondary dependencies. They are all interdependent on each other. So ideally you need this thing for the typical Spring Boot project to work by default. So you have this embedded Tomcat also. Can you see this embedded Tomcat? Right. So these four dependencies are required for the Tomcat, embedded Tomcat to work and all that stuff, right? So I'm not getting into all those things, but you will get this Maven dependencies. So let's say there's one more dependency which you can add, which will address your need of starting your Spring, deploying or building your Spring Boot project again and again every time you change the code. So adding one dependency will address this thing for you. You will not be required to, stop and launch the server again and again every time you change the code. It will happen automatically. So for that, go to pom.xml and add one more dependency. So how can you add a dependency from here? Ideally, we were having that dependency wizard step when we were creating a new project, right? Now, since we have already created a project, how can I get to that thing? So I can always right click the pom.xml, either the pom.xml over here or the file, right? And go to Spring, and there's something called edit starters, right? There is something called edit starters. Right click Spring, edit starters. Right click Spring, edit starters. Can you see? I'm also right clicking the project Spring, edit starters. You can right click pom.xml also, or an empty space in pom.xml. Everything will just work fine. Okay, so here there is one dependency called dev tools. Dev tools. You should find it in developer tools. In the developer tools, there is one thing called dev tools. Where is it? There are Spring Boot dev tools, right? If you select this, so along with Spring Web, dev tools is also added as of now, right? Click on OK. Now see what happens. Just a minute. This pom.xml got reloaded, and you got one more dependency over here, which is called dev tools, right? Spring Boot dev tools. Now see the beauty of dev tools. I'm not doing anything. I just added this dependency, right? I did not write even a single line of code, which anyways I'm not going to write. I just added this dependency. Now see what happens. I will go back to the project, right? My project is already running at port 8080, right? I will stop it once. I will stop it once, right? After adding a dependency, I have stopped the project once. I'm having a cup of tea. I will also give you the time to have a cup of tea. Okay, stop the project. And now I will launch the project again. ये क्या था? स्टॉप किया, लॉन्च किया, ये कौन सा चक्कर है भैया? चक्कर है भैया, चक्कर है. चक्कर में चक्कर है. Right? So I stopped the project, I launched the project. What is it? What is it that I want to show you? I want to show you something. So I've stopped the project, but before stopping the project, what is it that I did? I added dev tools as a dependency to the pom.xml. So ideally, what is this dev tools? It's a utility which 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 adds the capability of live reload, live build, and live reload to our Spring Boot project. So now if I kind of go and take a look at the output, I'm getting it, right? I'm getting this output. Okay, right? So what if I change this code, for example, right? OBBO rather than OBB. Here it is OBB, right? OBB, OBB, OBB. Rather than this, I will make it OBBO, OBBO, right? I save it. I have not yet saved it. I will save it. See what happens. Dev tools will rebuild your code all again automatically. You are not required to stop it and launch it again. Dev tools is doing it for you. Right? See, Dev tools got it. Let's change it again. Let's say this OVO is from Japan. Just pens and save it. See, Dev tools is rebuilding the code again. Anything you would change in the source code, since Dev tools as a dependency is added to your project, it will rebuild the project again. You are not required to do it all manually. So it becomes very developer friendly, right? So you can see you are getting the updated data. Got it? So that is where I complete the introduction part. You can always right click on your project, go to properties, and in the resource there is this location, right? That's what your workspace is. You can click on this button and it will open the workspace in the Windows Explorer, right? And then you can open the command prompt from here. You can just say, you can click here in the address bar and say cmd, and it will open a command prompt inside your workspace, right? That's what I want you to do now. Okay, so I already have it open, so I am not opening it again. I already have it open. So I will go inside my 001 Spring Boot, that is the project I would want to compile, and I will say my command called men what clean, right? So I will be able to run this command. I will be able to run this command. As I have already added that Maven binaries inside my what do you call, uh, if you might be following me from the step, from the initial lab setup when we were discussing initially, then you already know that I have already configured Maven uh, inside my path variable, right? So you can see Maven, Apache Maven 3.6.2 is already configured, right? Here it is. This software Apache Maven bean is my home. So I can always use this Maven command and build my project manually. And that is, I'm not using Spring Boot to package my project. So I can use Maven to package my project. So I can say mvn clean, right? That's one of the argument I can pass to Maven. So what it will do, it will clean my project. Once the project is clean, I can build it, right? So you can see build is success. So it is deleting the folder called target inside my workspace. So if you kind of go and take a look in the 001 as of now, then you see it is clean. There is no target folder. So let me do it like this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run mvn package. What this mvn package will do, it will package my project. After compiling it, it will first build my project, then create an executable, that is a jar file. And where will it create it? It will create a target folder in here. Inside a target folder, it will create an executable and then package the whole project. So my goal is to have that executable and execute it. Let's wait. Let us see what it does. See, it did run some test and now it is trying to build it, and the build is success, and you have the target folder over here. And can you see this building jar over here? It is saying building jar. Where did it build it? Inside my project in the target folder as 001 snapshot.jar, right? Got it? Where is it? It is inside a target folder. So here it is. Can you see this? Oops, sorry. What was that about? Whatever it was. So now I need to execute this. Can I execute this? Will it execute my project? Let us kind of go and see. Let me copy this file from here. I'll just copy this. You can also execute it from within this folder, right? But for your information, let me take it somewhere else. Let me take it somewhere else. I will copy it from here. I'm inside my workspace, C users, Praful workspace, whatever it is, right? And I will take it in altogether a different folder, which is this. Right? So I will just create one examples folder. It is altogether a different folder, right? And in here, paste it. Make sense? So I need to execute this jar file now. How will it? It is just 17 MB. How will I now this is something I need to give it to my production team. That's it. I need not to give any dependency. I need not to give any environment. No, nothing like that. I just need to give this jar file. Boom, it will just work. And of course, for to execute this jar file, they need to have a JDK setup, right? The JDK should be installed in their environment. But that's fine. That's fine. Um, I just need to give the production team my jar file and everything will just work. Let me show you what I mean. So I will stop this, release this port as of now because it's port 8080, right? So I will stop it all. I have opened up one more command prompt where in the same location where my jar file is. I would have done this even in the target folder, but that would have not helped you understand what I mean. So I have taken it and copied and pasted in altogether different folder. So here we have it, right? So ls, you have this 001 Spring Boot jar file, right? So I can execute the jar file java hyphen jar and 001. That is the file I want to execute, right? I want to execute a jar file. Now see what happens. That's the beauty of working with Spring Boot. It will execute the jar file independently. It has nothing to do with whether the dependencies are there or not. All the dependencies are pre-built inside, preset inside this jar file. Can you see? Tomcat is being initialized and Tomcat started on port 8080 and started application, right? So now let's kind of go and see what we have. I will go to the browser and do what? It is localhost what? 8080. Makes sense? See, you got the welcome from Spring Boot again, isn't it? But where is it coming from? It is coming from this jar file, the one which is executed independently, nothing to do with the Spring tool suite. There is no Tomcat, there is no Apache Maven, nothing like that. It just worked, right? I was able to execute a jar file and get our solution deployed locally. I can stop it by pressing Control C or Command C as in Mac. And now if I attempt to run it, it will not work. Why? Because solution is not running now. So next, let me show you how is it that you can deploy your application at different ports. So this is what I used so as to execute the jar, right? So I can always say -d server dot port is equal to, let's say, 8181. Make sense? So this time it will deploy at port 8181. So you can see it is deployed at 8181, right? So if you kind of go and take a look, where is my browser? Localhost, what is it? 8181. Got it? It just works, right? So let us kind of create one more instance of command prompt. Let me open one more window for the command prompt. And for this also, I'm in the example folder, right? So I will also say what? Java-jar is not coming. Okay. Uh, Java-jar -d server dot port is equal to, let's say, 9191. Makes sense. And what is that I want to execute? This jar file. Got it? So now it will run at port 9191 also. So 8181 is also running and 9191 is also running, right? Can you see? 8181 is also running. 9191 is also running. So same application is running at two different ports. But was it a right way of doing it? So yeah, if you are trying to run your Spring Boot projects from the command prompt, then yes, you can think of it as one of the way. What is the use of web services? What is it that we have done with the help of this web service, the one which I created in the friend REST controller, right? Which was /all. What we got is an array of JSON objects, right? Ideally, JSON is a standard. JSON is become an standard now when it comes to inter-application communication, right? Let's say two applications wants to communicate with each other. So I will explain it to you by drawing a rough sketch. So let's assume you have this Spring Boot application. Here you have it. Or any application, any server-side application. And behind the scenes, you have the database, right? Here is the database. So who sends a request? A client sends a request. So client, as of now, think of it as a mobile app. Mobile app sends the request. So mobile app will send a request to your Spring Boot project. Spring Boot project will process the request. That's what we did, right? So as of now, as in our case, who was the client? A browser. The example in which we were able to display the friends list, right? The one which you just saw over here. this one. Who is the client? Client is this browser, right? So client is sending a request to the Spring Boot project. Now, Spring Boot project is returning back a response. What is this response? This response is an array, is a RESTful response, right? It's a RESTful response. That is, ideally, it is an array of JSON objects. So ideally, when I say REST, ideally I'm working with the JSON data. When I say REST, means JSON data. Now, in the same way, client can be the mobile app. So response will go to the mobile app. So client can focus on rendering the JSON data. I will show that to you. I will see if I can, code one basic front end and show you how you can consume the data inside of front end. So in the same way, this can be another Spring Boot project, right? Another Spring Boot project. It's also a client, but what is it? It is another Spring Boot project. Now that Spring Boot project is sending a request to the REST endpoints deployed in this Spring Boot project, and it is getting back the response, isn't it? It is sending a request and it is getting back the response. It is sending a request and it is getting back a response. So ideally, what is the standard over here? For everything, JSON data is coming as a array of it's a RESTful data which is coming back. So okay, so as of now I am using Spring Boot. What if I use something else? What if I use, for example, Node and Express to create REST endpoints? What if I use Django, Python and Django, or Flask to create the REST endpoints? I can, right? Or I can use ROR, Ruby on Rails, to create a REST endpoint. I can ideally do that. But what will be the format in which response will go? JSON, right? So what happens? You need not to worry about what framework or technology is used to create a middleware or to create a server, right? So client are not required to bother about who is implementing a middleware. Getting my point? Clients are not required to bother about who is implementing a middleware, whether it is a Spring Boot project, whether it is a Node Express project, whether it is a Python Django project, or whether it is a Ruby on Rails project. Client need not to worry about it. What client needs to worry about? It needs to worry only about how to render the JSON data that is going to come. So all of them are going to send the RESTful response. When I say RESTful response, what I mean? An array of JSON objects, right? So ideally, JSON RESTful response has become the standard now. Why? Why has RESTful response become the standard? Because of its lightweight nature. You can query it. Why is JSON standard for why REST? And to that, I will say one, and here it goes. Save. Right. So I will save this file. I did not save this file. Huh? Okay, I have committed it in the repo, over in the repo, and you can take a look. Right, so it has got notes and all those things in place, right? So it is right there, right there, right there, right there. Fine, so here it is. I'm closing it off. So that's the wrap up of our day. Any queries, feel free to ask.